Netflix has effectively lost between 5 and 15 billion in market capitalization following a boycott call from Elon Musk over Dead End Paranormal Park, an animated series on Netflix Kids featuring a transgender character. The controversy worsened when it turned out the show's creator, Hamish Steele, had made cavalier remarks about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Within days of Musk's call to his 226 million followers to cancel their subscriptions, Netflix shares fell 2.3%, marking yet another case study in how socio-political messaging can devastate corporate valuations. How could Netflix have not registered the changing cultural winds, and did they allow this to unfold out of identity politics, or incompetent lack of oversight, or some billion-squandering mix of both? And what is likely to happen next? No identity movement has hurtled into prominence, gained legitimacy and cultural empowerment, and then had its wings melt by flying too close to the sun than the trans movement, which became ludicrous in its doctrinaire insistence on the generality making alterations and allowances in sports and private spaces, strident and high-strung about language as violence, pronoun usage, and neologisms like cisgender, and scolding in the boycotting or marginalizing of media deemed contrary. Within a year, a movement all but normalized and enjoying culturally established support experienced a FINA swimming ban, a shrugged-off Hogwarts Legacy video game boycott, a damning BBC investigation into the UK's Tavistock Reassignment Centre, a comprehensive and damning Cass inquiry, then a UK Supreme Court ruling on gender.
The unanimous decision of this court is that the terms woman and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to a biological woman and biological sex.
It's biological.
And then a catastrophic Bud Light influencer tie-in that cost that company staggering amounts of cash. And just this week, J.K. Rowling launched a withering and almost painful dissection of Emma Watson, the actress who played Hermione Granger, over that actress's high-minded but preachy positions over the last few years. Just as this identity politics Icarus was spiraling towards the ground, Netflix suddenly found itself in the middle of the culture war when Elon Musk, an eccentric and erratic fixture in our lives, with a vast chasm between his entrepreneurial intelligence and worryingly underdeveloped and compromised social and emotional intelligence, urged his several hundred million followers to boycott Netflix over a children's show with trans-positive content. For decades, corporate America operated under a simple principle: boycotts don't work. Consumers, the conventional wisdom held, possess short attention spans and even shorter memories. A week of bad press would fade, social media fury would dissipate, and business would return to normal. That calculus has fundamentally changed, and the financial wreckage littering corporate balance sheets tells a sobering story about the new rules of consumer engagement. The Bud Light debacle of 2023 marked a watershed moment in corporate risk assessment. What began as a single promotional partnership with Dylan Mulvaney cascaded into an estimated $1.4 billion in lost sales.
I've been internalizing a really complicated situation in my head.
The numbers were staggering and sustained. Sales plummeted 11% in the first week, 21% by week 2, and 26% by early May. Nearly a year later, sales remained down 30% year over year. Target's experience reinforced this emerging pattern. Following multiple boycotts related to its Pride merchandise and other socially progressive initiatives, the retail giant watched its stock tumble from $145 to $93 per share, erasing $12 billion in market capitalization. Full-year revenues declined from $107 billion in 2023 to $106 billion in 2024. While foot traffic slowed by 9.7%. Executives explicitly acknowledged that negative guest reaction to their Pride collection contributed to a 4.9% revenue decline in the second quarter of 2023. Retail analysts noted something unprecedented. Target faced not just one, but multiple boycotts that actually hurt the company's bottom line, a rarity in the history of consumer activism. What distinguishes these successful boycotts from the countless failed ones that preceded them? Three factors converge: substitutability, amplification, and sustained organizational pressure. Consumers can easily switch from Bud Light to Miller Lite, although everyone outside of America knows that all of those beers are just essentially weak piss. From Target to Walmart, from Netflix to Disney Plus or Hulu. When that low switching cost combines with influential voices commanding massive platforms, companies face genuine existential threats to their business models. Netflix weathered the Dave Chappelle controversy in 2021 with minimal impact, as subscriber growth actually topped estimates during that quarter and stock prices remained near 52-week highs. But 2025 is not 2021. The political polarization has intensified, the organizational capacity of boycott movements has matured, and precedents now exist proving that sustained consumer defection can inflict real, lasting damage. Netflix's decision to stop reporting quarterly subscriber numbers makes quantifying the actual cancellation rate impossible, but the pattern emerging mirrors the early stages of both Bud Light and Target's experiences. This phenomenon is not confined to conservative backlash against progressive messaging. Disney recently hemorrhaged 1.7 million subscribers between September 17 and 23. Following the Jimmy Kimmel suspension that left-leaning consumers viewed as a direct capitulation to regulatory intimidation. When the FCC chair publicly inserted himself into content decisions at a private entertainment network, wielding the implicit threat of regulatory consequences for programming choices, he crossed a fundamental line, separating government oversight from government censorship. Disney's decision to suspend Kimmel, in apparent response to this pressure, signaled to progressive subscribers that the company would abandon free speech principles when confronted by regulatory threats. The rage came not from Disney's content choices, but from its perceived surrender to government overreach, a corporate acquiescence to the chilling effect of regulatory intimidation that violated the very First Amendment principles these subscribers believed Disney should defend. All anyone can ask for reasonably is consistency about free speech principles. Companies now face potential consumer punishment, not just for taking controversial positions, but also for abandoning them, for perceived hypocrisy, for insufficient commitment to stated values, or for excessive commitment to those same values. Every decision about content, marketing, and corporate positioning now carries genuine downside risk measured in billions of dollars and millions of lost customers. Reality check time. Netflix stock can fluctuate by billions on macro conditions, interest rate signals, or quarterly earnings. Dead End Paranormal Park ran for 2 seasons on Netflix from 2022 to 2023. Which means the content in question is already a bit of an artifact from a rapidly disintegrating age. Netflix, like Disney, would likely be able to weather even a sustained boycott without major impact. The streamer said at the end of 2024 that it had over 300 million global subscribers. It is also worth mentioning that Elon Musk himself suffered a boycott earlier this year, motivated by backlash against his political involvement. Tesla's global vehicle deliveries in Q2 of 2025 fell 13% year over year. Polls show 1/2 of US adults now have unfavorable opinions of Tesla. The message from consumers across the political spectrum is remarkably consistent. We expect authenticity, and we punish perceived betrayals of principle. Whether that principle is traditional values or progressive ideals matters less than the perceived integrity of corporate behavior. In an era of easy substitutability and massive digital amplification, companies no longer control their narratives or their fates. Hey guys, Echo Chamberlain here. If you follow my YouTube channel, you know I deconstruct everything wrong with modern pop culture. But I've been teeming with ideas that need more space, deeper dives, wider-ranging topics that require more than algorithm-friendly takedowns. I've been a freelance journalist for years, writing for outlets across the spectrum, but I grew frustrated with editor whims and legacy media's decline. I've built up a profile on Substack, and I'm delighted to say more than 1,000 of you have signed up to and are enjoying the deep dives I've been posting each week. I want to make this a major part of what I do, and I can tell there's a real hunger out there for reasoned takes in a volatile environment, covering entertainment, politics, literature, and societal change. My vision is to build a genuine media commentary hub where other YouTubers and voices you might recognize provide guest posts, and some of your comments and feedback is raised on the Echo Chamberlain livestream. So here's the ask. If you value this work, consider subscribing for just $5 a month. It helps me make this sustainable, professional, and a true alternative to the low-grade, clickbait, AI-generated tribal sludge that dominates so much of media today. Of course, I'll keep making my Echo Chamberlain videos. It's always cathartic to splutter my way through the latest acts of cultural sacrilege. And if you can't spare it right now, no stress. I'll still be posting free articles regularly.